Everyone, including you, will be able to play Stormgate for free tomorrow when Steam Next Fest hits. I think the exact time is 3 p.m. CST, so you can convert that to whatever your time zone is. But basically, they released their patch notes for whatever patch everyone will be playing on. It's the elephant patch. So I thought we would go through these patch notes and I'd give some of my thoughts on them. And they're a long one, so I'll do my best to get through them quickly without boring y'all too much. But let's get right into it. Starting off with, we got a new hero, Malak, for the Infernals. So it's an Infernal caster hero, and he has some unique rituals. Mortadon Strike, which requires Commander level 7 and allows all of Moloch's Mortadons to fire an Inflamed Imp across the map, each one dealing 40 damage in a large area, so that could be fun. I think this is mostly just co-op, so don't worry too much about this if you are a 1v1 competitive player. And we also have Shadowfall, which is another ritual, requires Commander level 9, and it covers the entire map in Shroud. Then we have some hero abilities. Serve the Flame, 60 energy, 20-second cooldown, where it consumes the corpses in the target area to summon a burned one. The more corpses you consume, the larger and more powerful the burned one will become. And you can have up to 5 of these at a time, so it's sort of like having little minions for yourself. Burning Blood is 20 energy. It grants a target unit 25% increased attack speed, so I'd assume you could cast it on your burned ones, and allows it to deal 20 bonus damage on its attacks for 20 seconds, so it's sort of like a little bit of a buff. We got Wildfire, which is 70 energy and a 10-second cooldown, so that's a very low cooldown for how much energy it costs, but it summons a temporary fire cyclone that spins towards the target location, dealing 80 damage per second in an area around it. I do wonder if it summons it at your location then moves. I guess we'll have to see. Cinderstorm requires Commander level 5. I feel like they didn't do these in order at all, but it requires Commander level 5, and it costs 110 energy, which is the most that we've seen so far, and it calls down meteors that rain from the sky that deal 45 damage per meteor. So next, his unique units that I'd assume you can build at their respective plants. We have the Chimera, which is 400 Luminite and 200 Therium, so a very expensive unit, I'd assume. 8 supply, 125 white health, 500 health, 10 damage, 7 range, so it's a ranged unit. 1.5 attack speed, and it targets air. It looks like it doesn't target ground. 0 armor, move speed 5, decently slow with Acid Buster's passive. It fires 8 projectiles that explode near random locations around the target. And there is an upgrade. It'll fire 12 projectiles at Commander level 8. Then we have the Mortardon. It is 250 Therium and 250 Luminite and 150 Therium. It is 8 supply. 120 health, white health, 480 health, 80 damage, 21 range. Wow, that's a ridiculous amount of range. That's just like him shooting it, I'd assume. We got the 4.5 attack speed, targets ground, armor 0, pretty slow, and it attacks deal 50% friendly fire, interestingly. And it launches an Inflamed Imp, we know that. Anyways, we got Fire Giant, 250 Luminite, and 50 Therium. Oh, I guess you can have your own Mortadons, which launch the Inflamed Imps, right? Okay, Fire Giant, 250 Luminite, 50 Therium, 5 supply. 125 white health, 500 health, 50 damage. That's insane. That's a lot of damage. 4 range, 2.2 attack speed. It targets ground with 10 armor and 3.5 move speed. So sort of like a walking tank, honestly, though it's not too tanky. Then we got Malak stats. I don't know how you say that. 175 Shroud Shield, 700 health, 200 energy, 65 damage. That's a lot. 13 range, 1.8 attack speed. It targets air and ground. Armor 10, move speed 3.8. We got progression along with the new look. They've introduced Hero XP. Both Malak and Blockade, who is the hero for the Vanguard, will now unlock their unique abilities, units, and passives gradually as they level up across multiple co-op matches. Then we have 1v1 competitive. They have ranked leagues with a new look. They have a fantastic new look to show off the factions of Stormgate as you queue up. This visual update extends to loading screens showing your opponent and their faction, so you won't be surprised with what your opponent goes. Sorry about that. We have leagues and tiers now. So the leagues will be Aspirant, Bronze, Silver, Gold, Platinum, Diamond, Master. Aspirant's a scary name because that could also be known as the ASS League. So, I don't know. Probably could have chose a better name for that, but that is okay. I mean, it's your standard leagues in any game. Silver and Gold will probably have the majority of players, and we'll have a nice bell curve like that. Each league is subdivided into 3 numbered tiers, where tier 3 is the lowest and tier 1 is the highest. That makes sense. Transparent MMR screen. They now display your MMR for each faction on the 1v1 versus. That's good. It's good to know what your MMR is and not just have it be who knows. So we have unit and structure changes for the Vanguard. For the habitat, there is an upgrade now. I'd assume the habitat's sort of like a supply depot from StarCraft. The solar habitat, it costs 100 Luminite, grants 600 health. Well, it doesn't grant, it probably has 600 health, grants 5 supply and enable solar charge, which increases the production speed and attack speed of nearby friendly structures by 25%. That's pretty insane. I'd assume you can probably put one of these on your command center or whatever produces your, bobs, and that can increase production speed for that, as well as you could put it next to like a turret to make it shoot faster, or even you probably want like one of these solar habitats next to each one of your production buildings just so that they produce so much faster. Then I'd assume the other choice is Rampart. You cost 100 Luminite. It is 800 health, which is a lot more, 200 more health, and it has 100 energy. I guess it costs 100 energy to... No, it has 100 energy. It grants 5 supply and enables reinforce, which costs 50 energy. It increases the armor of a nearby friendly structure by 200 for 20 seconds. That's a lot of armor. Okay, they have a Hedgehog visual update, and in Infernal, there's a new unit, which is Hellborn. So that's interesting. We don't really know what that is yet. So now we're getting on to features. Custom hotkeys. You can now customize a wide breadth of your hotkeys in Stormgate to play the way you want to play. There's still more improvements to make for hotkeys, so please share your feedback. That is interesting. I wonder if during alpha, whether you could change your hotkeys or not. I was not in alpha, so I could not tell you. And even if I was, I guess I wouldn't be able to tell you either. But yeah, I wasn't. So anyways, I wonder if that was a thing. It's good that you can change them now, though. For your top bar in both co-op and 1v1, you'll see our new top bar complete with many faction or hero-specific global abilities at your disposal. The top bar is a new way to activate abilities and rituals previously found on Vanguard Command Posts or Infernal Shroud Stones. Moving on to balance notes, these won't mean too much. However, if you're watching this once it's released, you'll sort of get an idea of what was buffed or nerfed beforehand, before the patch that everyone will be playing on. So in general, a pass was done to normalize the vision ranges of all units and structures in the game, and they fixed an issue where walling was not as consistent as intended. Walling was a huge issue in AoE 4, so it's cool that they're trying to figure out this in Stormgate even before they've even released the game. And vision ranges is very important. Like in Dota 2, vision ranges are just completely crazy because some units have ridiculous vision range, such as like Slark, and it's just sort of random, and it's this really weird mechanic that isn't told to you anywhere, and only if you're really good do you know how to like take advantage of stuff like that. So next we have our creeps, the creep camps. This is what makes this game different than a lot of RTS games, but pulls this from Warcraft 3. So creep stats have generally been rebalanced. Creep camps generally gain slightly less power as they level up, making it easier to creep, I'm sure. Health and speed camps now start at level 2. Siege camps now start at level 3. Creep camps now more greatly vary. That's a weird way of saying that. Greatly vary in the number of creeps, so you could have more or less. Health camp heal per second is increased from 4 to 8, so that's a big, that's a 100% buff to heal in camps. And the movement speed buff given by the speed camp duration. Movement speed buff given by the speed camp duration has been increased from 10 to 20, so that's doubled in duration. Big buffs to creep camps in general, it seems. Definitely wanting people to get out and creep camp early. The amount of Vanguard XP needed to level up to level 1 was reduced by 33%. So basically, they reduced the level up percentages for all of them, which makes sense because in an RTS game, you're losing units all the time. So I would say this is a pretty big buff to Vanguard just in general, because leveling up gives them health and makes them attack faster. So that is something to keep in mind, but definitely a pretty big buff, I'd say. To veterancy, I wonder if they'll have to nerf the stats in the long run, but it is good just to make it easier to see your units level up. Next we have orbital cooldowns. Bob overcharge and deploy sensor drone have moved to the top panel, so we got our top panel up there, probably where you cast all your things that cost energy. Bob overcharge now requires a target command post or central command. Bob overcharge now increases Bob construction speed in addition to armor and damage. So with this, if you've been watching like the cast or whatever, you can use the Bob overcharge to construct a new command structure faster. I think it's like 50% faster or something is what they said. So that's very important to note. You can also deploy sensor drone, which now fires a sensor drone from the nearest command post or central command. They also have a new ability, which is shield up. It places a shield on a friendly target unit that absorbs 1,000 damage over 10 seconds. That's crazy. That's a lot. Definitely you'll have to micro to make sure you're not focusing a unit with 1,000 damage shield, and it actually doesn't look like that it's that much energy either. Okay, a Lancer, it's like the melee unit for the Vanguard. The build time has been decreased from 26 to 23. Scout build time has been decreased from 15 to 13. Its move speed was increased, which is huge, and its damage was changed from 6 with +6 to light to 8, so basically a buff to damage overall. It can now be slowed. I guess it couldn't be slowed before. Beryllium Claws upgrade now has the following effect. It improves the Scout's bonus against light units by 16 damage and no longer requires another upgrade. Cost is 25. That's crazy cheap, and the research duration is 30 seconds. So looks like they'll be really strong early game, especially if your enemy's going like really light units. So something to keep in mind. Probably good in the mirror match. I don't know so much about Vanguard versus Infernal if they're going like brutes or something like that, but there's also a new upgrade, Gear Grind. On hit, it reduces target biological unit movement speed by 25. So you're going to be, slowing stuff if it's trying to run away from you. You definitely won't be able to run. 25% is a pretty big movement speed debuff, and it requires both the Beryllium Claws upgrade and Central Command to get the Gear Grind. Exo, so I mean, it seems unlikely that you're going to be getting that upgrade very often. Exo, the cost has been increased from 100/25 to 125/25. That is a relatively big increase, especially if you're, getting a lot of Exos. That is something to keep in mind. Weapon range was increased from 6 to 7 though, so they buffed them and also nerfed them by cost. But I'd say overall, and they buffed their damage as well from 16 to 19. I'd say that's overall a buff to Exo, even though they do cost more. They're just worth a lot more, so you're going to have to try a little bit harder to keep them alive, kite with them, stuff like that. Medtech, both versions of Nanoswarm no longer stack with other instances of Nanoswarm. We got Hedgehog, its cost was increased from 125.25 to 150 to 25. Build time was decreased from 35 seconds to 30 seconds. Movement speed was decreased from 8 to 6.75. That's like a pretty big nerf, I'd say, especially the movement speed. Wow. Mobilized weapon period increased from 0.2 to 0.3. I'd assume that means it takes longer to mobilize its weapon. Its damage was decreased from 10+7 to heavy to 10+5 to heavy. Moving turn period increased from 0.18 to 0.4. Yeah, okay, so it's probably just like it's not able to turn as fast. Ammo now recharges 1 missile at a time instead of 4 at a time. Mobilized ammo recharge duration decreased from 4 to 1.2. So that is it doesn't reload as fast. And then deployed ammo recharge duration increased from 2 or decreased from 2 to 0.9. So I'd assume, yeah, I mean, it just reloads slower overall. No longer attacks air in mobilized mode, can now deploy without an upgrade. So I guess they made it so it doesn't need an upgrade now. That's interesting. Its mobilized weapon range was decreased from 6 to 5. Its deployed weapon range was decreased from 13 to 8. There's a new upgrade, Transonic Rockets. It increases the range of the deployed Hedgehog's anti-air weapon by +5 and the mobilized Hedgehog's anti-ground weapon by +2. So have an upgrade that increases its range by a lot. Its cost was increased, its movement speed was decreased by a lot, so it's going to be less of a hit and run, and it will be interesting to see how effective it is with these changes for sure. Next we got Vulcan. Build time was decreased from 50 to 45 seconds. Atlas, its cost was increased from 250/100 to 250/125. Its build time was decreased from 55 to 48. Its deployed damage was increased from 70 versus heavy plus 35 versus structure to 80 structure. That's interesting. It's just an overall nerf to structure damage, but a slight buff to its overall damage. Weapon period increased from 4.5 to 5. Deployed missile speed increased from 12. That could be a pretty big change just because the Atlas doesn't directly hit stuff. This should make it easier to hit. The damage radius has been increased from 1 to 1.5, and the half damage radius was increased from 1.75 to 2. So basically they're making it easier to hit stuff with Atlas. It's probably just too hard to use before. And deployed quarter damage radius remains at 2.5. Hornet, this has been something that's been used in a bunch of games and like casted games and stuff. So the cost was increased from 125 to 70 or 125/75 to 150/75. So 25 more. Its build time was decreased. However, its health was increased. Its anti-air weapon period was decreased. I'm not going to read through all of these for you. Range was increased from 5 to 6. That's a pretty big difference. Anti-ground period decreased. Backswing decreased. Damage changed from 15 to 14. So they decreased its damage a little bit, and its ground weapon range has been decreased from 5 to 4, so it's definitely better at air-to-air combat, but worse at air-to-ground combat. Its stationary and moving turn period was decreased from 0.5 to 0.1. Its turn radius was decreased from 0.5 to 0.25, and the charge predator state no longer increases the damage of this unit's first attack, and it no longer has the launch Skymine ability. Whew, okay. We're about halfway through. We can finish it. This is just a lot. So with the evac, we have a new ability called Release Skymine. It places this Skymine behind this unit that lasts 120 seconds. Upon activation by an enemy air unit, the Sky Mine will chase down its target and detonate, dealing 50 damage to enemy units in the area, slowing them down for 10 seconds. And the Sky Mine vision range has been decreased from 10 to 6, and the Sky Mine activation time has been decreased from 5 to 3. So definitely a buff to evacs. We got our Sentinel. Build time is decreased from 50 to 40. New pulse inhibitor ability. It launches a missile at the target area. On impact, enemy units have their movement speed decreased by 25%, damage reduced by 40%, and vision reduced by 90%. So pretty big nerf it's a pretty nice ability basically. Then we have Haste Bot Dispersal or a movement speed buff that's 20 to 25. We have a Nano Defense Bubble. Tooltip now correctly states its duration as 20 instead of 10. And they fixed a bug. So we got Habitat. Its build time was increased from 15 to 20 seconds. Health was decreased from 600 to 400, but now we have the upgrades which will get them to 600. No longer has a heavy tag, it has a light tag, so it's probably easier to get killed for the most part, and has the new ability upgrades. We have the Hangar Bay. Its cost was decreased from 150/100 to 150/75, which makes it easier to make Hornets earlier, and return to hangar speed bonus was increased from 25% to 100%. We got the Buzzsaw Cannon. Its range was increased from 6 to 7, and bounce range was increased from 4 to 5, so nice buffs there. The Sentry Array, new ability Vision Surge, increases this unit's vision range by plus 15 and allows it to see up cliffs. Flat Cannon, damage has been decreased from 24 to 19, and range decreased from 12 to 10. And I'd assume this is like when you put an exo in their turret. I'm not 100% sure. Then we got the Med Station. In combat heal rate increased from 2 to 4, and out of combat heal rate increased from 4 to 8. So definitely big buffs to the Med Station. We got Infernals. Their tech tree was reworked. White health no longer degenerates off of Shroud, and Infernal units now generally have 25% of health as white health, down from 50%. So small nerfs to them. Alright, let's go through the Infernals. Rituals can now be found on the top panel. Again, they're consolidating all your abilities to the top. The Blood Moon ritual has been removed from the game. If you haven't played the game, then that probably means nothing to you. It means nothing to me. We got Bring Darkness. It's the Nightfall Infestation. So, renamed to Nightfall Infestation. They increased the cooldown from 10 to 120 seconds, and the infect radius was decreased from 10 to 6. Now has a 3-second casting delay, and it doesn't actually say what it does. So we have a Shroud Stone manifestation. I assume you get a Shroud Stone probably. A rework to be cast from the top bar must now be placed within a 10 radius of a shrine or Shroud Stone. Now grants a temporary buff to the summon Shroud Stone that increase attack speed and damage by 100%. That's a lot. Wow. Cooldown increased from 30 to 120 seconds, and now requires Great Shrine. We have Summon Flay Dragon. The Animus cost was decreased from 500 to 300, so almost a 50% decrease in its cost, which is pretty big. Its resource cost was increased though from 500, 400 to 500, 500. Still a pretty big difference. Its vision range was increased, movement speed was decreased, and its breath cooldown was increased. So they sort of nerfed it, but also made it cost less. So trying to keep it even probably. They have a new ritual summon effigy. It summons an effigy at the target location that provides shroud for 60 seconds. They have a new ritual, which is Hellspawn Resurgence. It refreshes all the charges on a target. Infernal Shrine, Iron Vault, Conclave, or Twilight's Fire. And the new ritual, Shadowfall, which covers the entire map and Shroud for 30 seconds, which is the Infernal's version of Creep. We have Felhog, which is health has been decreased from 90 to 60, damage has been decreased from 8 to 6. Gigantic nerf to Felhog's Imps, and Flame now only activates on one unit if you have multiple imps selected. Holding down the hotkey will activate it multiple times. Brute cost has been increased from 100 to 150, supply is now 3, so definitely big nerfs on the cost side. Brute now always drops 2 Fiends on death even if you didn't cast Hunter Soul, so that's a buff. Soulforge Ascendance now only provides only 1 bonus Fiend, down from 2, and now additionally increases the armor by 10, so a buff and a nerf there. Its cost was nerfed, and then Ascendance research time decreased as well, so overall a buff to Soulforge Ascendance. Sunder Soul now only activates on one unit if you have multiple brutes selected. Holding down will activate it multiple times. When selecting multiple brutes, Sunder Soul will now always activate on the one with the lowest health. That is a wonderful quality of life change. Great to see that. I was hoping that would be how that ability worked. Fiend, damage decreased from 9 to 8. Unstable Mass Trait reworked. A new effect, this unit degenerates 2% of its white health per second off Shroud, now immune to Infest. We got Gaunt. Range increased from 4.5 to 5.5, pretty big buff there. Now infests all enemies on hit without an upgrade. Hemoglaive Infusion ability renamed to Reaper's Rush no longer adds Infest to the Gaunt's weapon. It is upgrade replaced with the Reaper Rush upgrade. Reaper Rush allows the Gaunt to use the Reaper Rush ability. It costs 100. The cost of the upgrade is 100 Luminite, 100 Therium, 60-second research time, and it's researched at the Ritual Chamber. We got the Magmadon weapon period decreased from 1.5 to 2.1, so it's sort of a nerf. Its damage was also decreased, no longer has either of those abilities. Consume reworked, new effects, sacrifices a nearby Fell Hog or Fiend, recovering 100% of max white health instantly. Has a new ability, Trample goes into Rampage, pushing nearby units out of the Magmadon's path, dealing 150 damage over 6 seconds to nearby enemy ground units, while it also destroys trees. So, new upgrade, the Demon Hoof Tremors allows the Magmadon Trample ability to periodically stun nearby enemy ground units. That sounds really strong. Oh, Shadow Flyer. Okay. Its health was increased by 10, is now built at the Twilight Spire. Movement speed was increased from 4 to 6, pretty big buff there. Missile acceleration period increased from 100 to 200. Blood burst max speed decreased from 10 to 8. And the Sanguine Surge upgrade no longer increased the Shadow Flyer's movement speed by 50%. Doombringer health increased from 250 to 260, so very strong, very small increase. Its cost was increased by 50 on the Therium side. Wow. Supply was increased from 3 to 4, built a Conclave instead of Twilight, and requirement changed from Ritual Chamber to the Greater Shrine. Weaver health was decreased from 750 to 720. Small change. Lash can now target deployed units. Weapon damage changed from 20 to they don't know apparently. And they have a passive trait, Soul Ripper. This unit's weapon deals 10% of target's unit health, max health. So this would be very good against like tanks, stuff like that. 5% to structures. Meat Farm. Build time increased from 15 to 20. No longer has heavy tag, has light tag. So that's the same as the supply depot or the habitat from the Vanguard. Shroudstone, its radius was increased from 10 to 12, weapon period increased from 0.6 to 0.8. The Twilight Spire cost was decreased from 100/75 to 100/50, and requirement changed from Greater Shrine to Iron Vault or Conclave, so either one and you can build the Twilight Shrine. We got Shadow Cleft, build time increased from 50 to 70, no longer researches the Hemoglaive. New upgrade is the Demon Hoof Tremors. Ritual Chamber, build time increased from 50 to 60, and now researches the Reaper's Rush ability. And we got a new unit, Hellborn. It's a long-range artillery unit that deals cone of damage on weapon impact, built at Iron Vault and requires Shadow Cleft. Holy moly. Okay, so this is our huge-ass list of all the changes. Absolutely nuts. If you made it this far, you're an absolute G. I really appreciate you staying the whole time. It means a ton to me. I'll continuously make videos like this in the future. Yeah, so if you really enjoyed my content to stay this long, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll have casted games. I'll be doing build orders, guides in the coming days. I have like 3 videos planned for the day that the embargo lifts. So yeah, anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed. Thanks for getting through this with me. This was a long one, and I hope y'all have a wonderful day. And good luck and have fun this week. It should be a ton of fun that Stormgate is finally launching. Thanks for watching, y'all, and have a great day.